So we've known pretty much from the beginning of the foundation of the Springs Preserve that the spring mound was a very archaeologically active area. We know we've seen pieces of stone tools, grinding stones, pieces of ceramic, roasting pits. All of these features have been found on the surface of the spring mound. And so we know when we find something on the surface, we can generally assume that there's going to be something underneath the ground as well. So what we're doing here is we're working with a group, an archaeology class from UNLV, and we're coming out and marking all the artifacts that we're finding on the surface of the spring mound, and then we're using a total station to map those in. So what we're doing is we're trying to get a high resolution, detailed map of all the artifacts that are on the spring mound to get an idea of how those artifacts have eroded out of the spring mound and how they've been deposited. So when you look at an area like this here, you're going to see there's some darker colored rock. That darker colored rock is usually thermally altered rock or fired cracked rock, and you'd see this mostly associated with roasting pits or hearths or fireplaces, things like that. Something else we're going to see as we're looking out across the landscape is small little pieces of flint or chert that have been chipped off to make stone tools like projectile points, arrowheads, spearheads, scrapers, drills, those types of tools. Now, when we look across this landscape, we see that there's quite a few places where there may have been hearths or fireplaces. And we can look at one right over here specifically. And you can see that this area right here, you can see there's a lot of that fire-cracked rock in this space. You can also see that the soil is a little bit more gray colored, indicating that there's a lot of ash that was used in this spot. Now, oftentimes, if we're working in an archaeological context and we find a fire pit, we can recover sometimes animal bones from there. We can sometimes recover seeds. So we would have known what they would have been having for dinner, what they would have been cooking in their fire. And then also, from these roasting pits, these fire pits, we can find pieces of charcoal. And when you can use those to radiocarbon date the thermal feature to the time when it was used. So finding something like this, while may look rather unimpressive on the surface, once you pull out and tease out the information from it, it can tell you quite a bit.